What did you say? I didn't even hear what you said.
Yeah, I said, hi, everybody.
Okay, yeah.
This is day 2 of the
Hi.
trauma tapping webinar. And we are from now recording, just so you know it. And I have to have that on tape with the new rules.
Yes, very good. That's okay. Good, great. Yeah, so welcome to this 7th of October. And we will have 90 minutes together and doing some more. I mean, many of you went or shared the number, the day 1 of 2, some weeks ago in September. Others have come from other times that we have met. And you're all as welcome, of course. So, and we use the chat. So for you who are is not familiar, you know, who are not familiar, it is in the bottom, at the bottom of the square in the middle. It says the chat. So when you want to say something, I mean, in the beginning, we would like you to share some of the stuff that you have done with tapping since before, so we can have some interaction between ourselves. And then if you want to ask some question or have some comments, please write it in the chat to everyone. Or if you want to write it personal, look for the name of the person you want to send it to. So that makes it very easy.
Yes. And dearly welcome. And we want to know, have you been tapping? Have you been tapping since we saw you last? And is anybody here for the first time because you signed up for day 2 and you're going to do day 1 later or something like that? Just let us know. And if you have been tapping and you have this story, like I tapped and it was, oh, this was my experience, then please share that. You can unmute yourself, or you can write in the chat.
Yeah, but please, some of you can, so you go, Mary Beth Orton. Okay. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. So I've been tapping a whole lot. But my favorite response from a teenage client after we tapped and I taught her how to do it, the following session, I asked her if she was using the tapping and she said yes. And she goes, that really works. And I'm like, I wouldn't teach you something that doesn't work.
Wow.
But she just was so grateful and really utilized it to the best of her ability, which I just thought was adorable when she said, yeah, that really works.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the best comment, actually. I mean, it is like, wow, yeah. Because there can be so many doubts and not everybody would even admit that it works because you find it kind of simple and you have been through many things and, you know, it should be something more complicated that can help me. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Mary Beth. Somebody else?
Cool.
I can share.
Yes, please, Ola.
I already told Ulf, but it was amazing because I've been working as a police officer for over 20 years. And for a couple of weeks ago, we went into a house and a young girl with drug problems had a panic attack. And she has been suffering for panic attacks for over 10 years when she got stressed. But I tapped her and afterwards she started to cry. She was calm and she told me that it was the first time in 10 years that she found something that really worked.
Wow.
So that was amazing. Really amazing.
That's incredible.
That's really brave of you. Wow. Wonderful. And so relieving for her. I mean, imagine.
She was crying.
Yeah, 10 years. You know?
But also what a big kudos point to you for being in that profession, for being in that situation and doing it, actually daring to do it, daring to try it, because that is the only way that it will reach people. So, I mean, that for me is, you know, big respect.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Who else like to share? I see Anup has written tapping with friends and clients. Very well done.
So, you know, I was just working with one of my friends, right? And he had a history of child abuse and tormented beatings during his childhood. And on a scale of, I think he was almost anxious and stressed on the scale of almost like 9, right? Up to the, so that was, and after a few rounds of initial tapping, you know, he dropped immediately at level 2, right? So which was a great relief for him. And then obviously I did some more exercises based on NLP with him, you know, to just let him go of the past and see the bright future. But then helping to reduce the anxiety in a short span, it was really nice.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Anup.
Well done.
for that. Very well done.
Anna,
So some-
Rosenqvist, do you want to tell that story a little bit?
I just wrote my story.
Yeah, I see you did.
Yes, you've been tapping some young refugees in your
Yes.
clinic. I combine it with homeopathic treatment, your main treatment that really had psychological problems. They really had because of asylum issues, of course. But I'm not sure that they have used it so much. There has unfortunately not been so much follow-up of those guys. Yeah, but still, I mean, that's very good, you know, that you can use it.
My goal was when I did the course with you before, my goal was really, my ambition was to use it a lot, but it didn't turn out so.
Yeah, but
Also
perhaps you can
because
get some more.
I didn't have so much time, and I had some other problems in my family because of illness and corona
Yeah.
and accidents and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's common, you know, it's not unusual. People do these trainings and you have this tool that's incredible and you actually forget that you have it because it seems so simple. But once you start tapping and using it and you realize the feeling, the experience that it actually helps, from then on, it's easier to keep doing it.
I use it on myself.
Yeah.
I do.
Very good. Yeah, and Kelly has written,
Mostly
yes,
I
sorry.
have given I have shown the app to many of my patients, not only the asylum kids, but also to other patients that was in my clinic. I didn't have time during vad heter det? During the consultation, but then I gave them the app and
Great.
the vad heter det? Hemsidan.
The
The
whole
website.
website. Oh, that's great. Yeah, because that's very good. And that's what we encourage everybody, it's to give the app, because so many people have smartphones and then they can just have it by themselves. It's now in 27 languages. Yeah, and
Very
thank
cool.
you so much, Anna. Yes,
And
and
Kelly,
Kelly,
Kelly's been tapping at bedtime with her son and use it as required during the day. And during your tapping, a Reiki therapist tap with you to help you cope with the large thyroid cyst you have in your neck. Yeah, fantastic, Kelly. Thank you, Anna. Is there anything you want to add to that, Kelly? You're good?
No. Good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to go live and say something?
Okay. So we're going to continue because we have loads of stuff for you today. And any question you have, if it's not answered today, you can actually just send it to us later. That's fine as well.
Did you want to say something? Yeah. Please go
I
ahead.
do. I realized after I signed up that this is the training number 2. And then I went and I signed up for the training number 1. Is that okay right now?
Oh, yes.
I've been tapping for a long time.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, it's perfectly fine. I mean, you'll just find out because we will be continuing. And since you've been tapping, because that's the basics of this training also, we will also repeat some of the stuff, of course, repeat the sequence and do. So it's perfectly fine. You're most welcome.
I would like to ask something.
Yeah, sure, Anna.
Maybe you are going to, I guess you are going to tell, but I would like to know what you two have done since
Lately.
with the tapping. Where in the world have you been
Yeah.
working with
Yeah.
the tapping and so on?
Yeah, we can give some other examples. We did go through some of that stuff, some of the examples last time, but we can definitely share some of it, you know. So yeah, that's
When
great.
was last time? Did I miss something?
No, I mean, this is day 2 of 2. So we had a day 1 of 2 in September, 2nd September.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, and then we have a day 1 of 2 in coming November, and then a day 2 of 2 in December. So it goes like that. But it's fine.
We're doing this more or less once a month, or more or less. Our aim is to have 1 training per month. So if you go to the Eventbrite page, you will find them, and there will be a day 1, then a day 2, then a day 1, then a day 2. We will
but then I think I will come back when it's
You're
day
most
1
welcome.
then.
Okay.
You're most welcome. Yeah, so I just see that Carol also wrote, been using with clients and myself. Since very young, I have experienced sensory overwhelm when I hear whistling. Yesterday, I noticed that when I heard whistling, I was fine. A slight sensory of almost confusion. Oh, that's fantastic, you know. And that's, I mean, when this whistling, it reminds me of, you know, there were people who were traumatized in Rwanda where we started this work from whistling. What is that whistling? Do you mean whistling by whistling? Or or whistle. I mean, there also, what do you call this whistle? Do you call it the thing that you whistle in?
A referee whistle, or a
Yeah, or a police, or I mean, somebody who could use
or
it.
lip whistling.
Any kind.
Yeah, any kind.
My husband whistles, and he has loads of variations, and he whistles when he's happy.
Okay.
Normally, I have to just manage my state using NLP or go away or put music on, or but it activates my amygdala, and I'm really stressed. It's really almost impossible to manage. And I noticed we were doing some pruning, and that makes him really happy. So he's whistling a lot. I suddenly noticed, almost like what's wrong, like confusion. And then I was like, I'm okay, and there was no feeling. It's obviously from trauma.
I mean, and sometimes we don't even know where it comes from. I mean, it is like,
I think very young.
So it can be, and then you find it in different situations. So that's lovely, because most of the time, most people who whistle do it for joy, isn't it? Because it's difficult to whistle when you're stressed.
Yeah.
So that's nice that you now can enjoy, like when your husband is whistling.
Yeah. It's really exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Wonderful.
And good for the relationship, perhaps. I don't know.
Much better, yeah.
So let's leap straight into our first interactive greeting with each other that we all know since last time. So,
and for you who didn't join last time, you will have it for your first time, but it's very simple. So you will just, add it on.
Yep.
Good.
So just join in. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and me. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and you, or something else. And 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and woo. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ha! And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and whee!
Yeah, exactly like Ola does. It's just also looking up and a smile on your face, and stretch your arms to the ceiling or to the sky or to the stars, to the moon, the sun. This what we call power pose. And this greeting is for us a way that we come together with groups, whether it's online or or live or with your family or so. So that's why we collect all these different exercises and this greeting. We love it. And last time, also for those who joined, we had this picture of this mantas who does this kind of dancing power pose. They know exactly, and have these colorful clothes, or so we love that one. Yeah.
Yep. And they're in orange, the color of the peaceful heart. So here we go.
Yeah. And that's when we tell that, so we got this greeting from our friends in Congo. Coming back to this, that we always do things together wherever I love the praying mantis. Yeah. So that's really so we do too. And it's like exchange. So that's why when you come to think of some exercise that you have done, please give it, to all of us in this group, or write about it, because we want to have more, because everything that makes us, feel well will also make others probably feel well most of the time.
Yeah, maybe.
Especially whistling, when we have overcome that fear of whistling. Yeah, please.
So we had a meeting with a colleague in Los Angeles at a cafe, and she was helping us think about how do we convince people more about how lovely and simple this is. It's first aid for stress and trauma. It creates resilience. And she said, what you should tell people is learn it in 10 minutes and do it in 5. So we added that here for you today. Actually, it could take a little bit longer to learn it, but 10 minutes should be enough. So we're looking at mental health and essentials of mental health. What are they, and how does it work? And just to get the outline of everything: rest, food, water, exercise, social context, acceptance, meaning, empowerment, and being prepared. These are things that prepare you if you're, for example, going to be in a situation that is like now with a pandemic, or in a catastrophe, or a humanitarian outreach, or like Ula working as in a workplace where there is high stress. And also, it's really, really good to focus on the now and forward, and not run backwards looking at what's been behind us. Plus, we need strategies for self-regulation so that when something happens, we can do something about it, so that we can simply just take a break and look at what just happened and help our nervous system to regulate it.
Yeah, and that is really what we have specialized in, of course, these strategies, and so that we can share with others, and so that we get more of those comments. It actually works, like you said before. And we work without words. I mean, most of the exercises we do is actually not word-based, it's action with the body. And when we met in Victoria, you remember Bessel van der Kolk was there, and Bessel van der Kolk has written this book that we have as our Bible, which is called The Body Keeps Score. So we don't use any set of phrases and affirmations that, for those of you who are familiar with EFT, would be familiar with, because we see that it is not needed, and specifically not when you work with trauma, because it can be severely traumatizing. So that is our take on it. So we don't use, and that also makes it possible, of course, to work much easy over language and cultural differences. So that's what we have been doing a lot.
Yeah. And we also don't ask a lot about experiences. That's called working content free if you're looking into coaching and how people talk about it there, or with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Working content free means you can ask a person, is there something that bothers you? Is there an experience in your past? And they can go, yes. And normally in a therapeutic setting, they would start telling you about it. And you say, you don't have to tell me. All you have to do is connect to it ever so lightly. Can you sense that emotional reaction? And if you can start doing the tapping right away. It maintains integrity. It allows you to work in a group. And also, again, with language barriers or cultural barriers, it's easy.
Yeah, and the reason for this is then our original mentor, Dr. Carl Johnson from Virginia in the US, who is a trauma expert. He would say that people have suffered enough, and because telling your story can mean to suffer again, because you go back in it. You can even add another trauma by having this strong reaction when you are telling about your experiences. So that is, I mean, the least you don't, since you don't have to tell about it, what you say, it leaves out the risk of going into more suffering.
Yeah. So here's the thing, stress and trauma are your friends. Both stress and trauma. Stress is how your body handles danger or reacts to incidents that may threaten your homeostasis or well-being. And trauma is basically, once that this has happened, your body will want to help you to avoid it by reminding you of anything that happened before.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding stress is an essential part of being able to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and understand how, the encoding of trauma happens, which we have like a model from Dr. Ronald Ruden of the different components that are necessary to be there to have a trauma encoded in your system. It's called MLI or MLI, and because of different components. Are you going to show that picture now?
Yeah, it's going to be after. So MLI is an acronym for event, meaning, landscape, and inescapability. You'll see the next slide will show that. This is just a summary. And there's another acronym as well, understanding how trauma is expressed, and it's called CASE. And that acronym stands for cognition, autonomous nervous system, symptomization, and emotion. And as like we said, you're going to be seeing both of these on the next slide more in depth.
Yeah, and also then, of course, understand the transference of trauma, how it, just like with the COVID, we have learned how that goes from one person to another. So we learn also how this is transferred from one person to another, whether it's through epigenetics, from one person to the other, or from the mother to the child, or within a family or in a community, or from country to country. I mean, there are many ways that trauma can be transferred, and that's why we need to uncode, what you say, decode the traumatic reaction.
And that is what depotentiation is. So basically, when you are traumatized, you get there is a synapse is created in your fight and flight system that connects the stimuli that was present at the time of traumatization to a reaction, which is a traumatic reaction, a fight and flight reaction. And what the tapping does, and also the self-having that we show, is it depotentiates, which means it disconnects that trigger. So if a whistle at one point in life was safe, and then at another point in life, a whistle became a sign of danger, then it's been potentiated, it's been connected. And then through the tapping, the whistling could be depotentiated. And again, it's just a sign of somebody being happy.
Yeah, and there is a comment then from Julie connected to this. Funny, just dreamed last night about working with someone who wanted to stop when we finally found a safe place to work because of an emotional pain. As I wakened, I remembered using body sensations rather than words, and tearless trauma technique predicting severity if we were to talk. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what this is about.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much, Julie.
Wonderful. Right. So here we are.
Yeah, so how these reactions are encoded, what we call the landscape means the electrochemical landscape of your system, meaning that how much stress you already have in your system from, for some will be sensitive because of childhood experiences that has been showed in this big ACE research study, which is adversive childhood experience. But then you can go through other things in life, or you are very stressed. Like this time of COVID, many people are in high stress, others have gone down. So I think it's like half, because for some they have less to do and they get calm about it, and others have lost their job and get very, very stressed, or have to be, in a small space and family climbing everywhere on the walls. So this landscape, or this electrochemical landscape that you have in your system, will affect your probability of having a traumatic reaction encoded in your nervous system.
So event was the E in Emily, landscape is the L, the I in Emily is inescapability. And inescapability is something you perceive. It doesn't have to be real. So in real life, being cornered by a tiger in a room, that would seem inescapable. There is nowhere to climb, nowhere to hide. But again, if, for example, today you have this invisible virus that you, regardless of where you go, you can't see it, and it might jump onto you and give you corona or COVID, then that's another kind of inescapability that could traumatize. Or the coronavirus creates a situation where your economy is collapsing and there's no way out of it. That's also an inescapability that could be traumatizing. So it's the inescapability is a perception.
Yeah, and the meaning then, where we come now, the M of the Emily, is that different things have big meaning for different people. So for some it can be the risk of losing money, and of course losing your life, losing your reputation, losing your status, losing, and all these things that have a meaning, a personal meaning to you, that is important. When there is a situation where you feel you cannot escape from that, then that is also one of the components for having a traumatic reaction encoded in your nervous system. So the E goes for event, the M goes for meaning, the L for the landscape, and the I for the inescapability. So that's how Emily, and this is the model from Dr. Ronald Ruden, who has created the havening technique that we went through a bit last time, and we will repeat it this time. He has also written a book that is called When the Past is Always Present. I think we mentioned it last time, but I'll write it again.
Yeah, and so the thing here that we have to realize is that in many of the definitions or manuals of diagnostics, of doing a diagnostic of what is PTS, what is post-traumatic stress, it states that there should have been an event of a certain type where somebody, for example, is killed, or watching somebody get killed, or being abused. And that's not true. That's simply not true. It could, some people could see that and not be traumatized. Actually, many are not traumatized, up to 60-70%. But for other people, something that seems to not have a meaning could have a meaning for them. So we can never know if a person is traumatized or not, and we cannot guess it either just because they have been in a situation.
No, because it all comes to attachment. I mean, if you know about, I mean, in certain traditions, like in, I would say in Buddhism, there is a big part of training is to be not attached to certain things, whether it's, you know, your life even. So the less you are attached to things, or I mean, your personal belongings, for some it can be traumatizing if your car gets stolen, or, you know, so it all depends on what is important or what you are attached to.
Don't lean on your friends and colleagues of color to educate you.
Okay, so somebody has a video running in the background and a mic on. We'd love it if you yourself.
And I mean to extend yourself from the heart.
Visit.
Listen from the heart and the mind to understand the woman of color.
Yeah.
There it was, Lily.
I found it, Lily.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We found you, Lily. Okay, that's okay. We forgive you, Lily. Here we go. We go back.
Mm.
And we have that, you know, CASE is the acronym for how trauma is expressed. And CASE stands for cognitive. That's a cognitive channel. So your conscious and subconscious thoughts could make it difficult for you to think about yourself or to mentalize, because you want to go back and think about something that happened, but you react so much that your frontal cortex is offline.
Yeah,
So
and this also affects, sorry.
Yeah.
This also affects your possibility of focusing, studying. I mean, there's so many who have the symptom of not being able to focus on studies or cognitive knowledge when you're traumatized. So that is really one of the very big symptoms of trauma. Mm.
Yep. And then you have the autonomous nervous system, which is like sweating or heartbeat or bowel reactions. So functions of the nervous system that react automatically, acting out, going into defensive rage, getting cravings, closing down, even phobias can be expression of trauma.
Yeah, and then the somatization, of course, that we all know. I mean, the effects in the body that can come out of this, like stiffness, and of course pain, this muscle pain, and headaches is very common, and digestion complications, whether one or the other way. I mean, because it all affects the whole system, and the brain and the nervous system will say that, you know, it's no use dealing with those things now, because we have more important things to do.
Yep.
So it's a question of delivering energy where it's needed to. Yeah.
And then you have emotional reactions to an event. And that could be difficulty. I mean, you can dissociate, and you can have a difficulty to access your feelings, all kinds of feelings, which also makes it difficult for you to attach to other people's or relations or feel trust. But you could also get pathological emotions, like going into a hypervigilant mood, or going into a depressed hyperarousal mood, where you're simply closed down.
Yeah, and many can, I mean, get this very severe, I mean, and being in tears, crying very easily. I mean, there's so many ways that it can express itself. Mm.
But that's where you
Yeah.
have the TTT toolbox.
Exactly. So this is our, I mean, what we keep adding to this toolbox then, but we call it the TTT toolbox, because the trauma tapping technique, if you click a bit.
Yeah. What?
What?
Yeah, the trauma tapping technique. Yeah, that's our hero technique.
Yeah, that's what I'm. So so perhaps we just stop there and do a repetition of the TTT, the trauma tapping technique, because that's good, since that is what we is the basis, the hero technique. So if you just sit up and have your back comfortably straight. And your feet in the floor or ground. Also you in the floor, I think, or on the mat or something. And then you just take a couple of deep breaths. So you breathe in, hold your breath for a while, and then breathe out. With a little sigh with your mouth, you let your air out. And then again, you breathe in, hold your breath for a little while, and then breathe out. And then again, like we did last time, you can just, or for you who are here for the first time, you just close your eyes. And then you just check in your body, your mind, for any kind of stress. Don't go for the worst, but just now you must, go and see if it's something that stresses you now. When you find it, that you can connect to it, and then you grade it with this, what we call SUD, subjective units of distress, from 0 to 10, where 0 is no distress or no discomfort, and 10 is very much. So you just check it with yourself, and then you can just hold up when you found it, you can hold up your fingers into the screen and say what you found and how you rate it between 0 and 10. You can just hold up your fingers. So we see that, you can check. So if it's somebody who needs some work, we can do it. Okay, very good. And then you can just, again, open your eyes, and then we do the tapping. So you just follow. We start on the side of the hand. And we do this like 10, 15 times. So it's here, side of the hand. And then we go for this. We put the thumbs on the temples and do what we call then that Donna Eden, who, for those who know her, knows her, and those who know her, is called crown pull. We call it like frontal lobe massage, because this is, as we said before, the frontal lobe is kind of offline when we are stressed or traumatized. And that's where our logic thinking and our strategic and possibility to plan and, look at life from a perspective of going ahead, but it really goes offline. Okay, so it's like there. And then you go here to and most of you know this already, so you can just follow above the eyebrows. And I will just mention it. So, and then outside the eyes. Temple. Don't forget to breathe under the eyes. Under the nose. Under the mouth. Over the chest. Put one hand on the shoulder and tap on the side of the chest. Very good. Perfect. And then you go to the fingers. You start with the side of the little finger. And go for the next. Followed by the next. And another one. The thumb. And back to the chest again. All over the chest. This that we call the gorilla tapping. Tarzan tapping. Very good. Then release your hands and breathe in through your nose. And hold and breathe out. And again, breathe in. And breathe out. And just repeat on the other side. If you remember which hand you did on. Otherwise, you just do one of them. Low massage. Temples or side of the eyes. Under the eyes. Under the nose. Under the mouth. I don't remember which one, so I just do one. Didn't you do under the arm? Did I forget it? Wow. So under the arm. It's good. And now we go for the fingers. And finally, the gorilla tapping again. Great. And then breathe again. So breathe in. And breathe out.
That's a nice yawn in there, Jennifer. That means that your body is relaxing. That's perfect. Excellent. Way to go. Way to go.
And breathe out.
So yawning is your natural way of relaxing. It's a good response.
Then you can just close your eyes again and then just check where you were before with your SUD, with the subjective units of distress, and just find where you are now, if something changed or feels different, and then you can just show your numbers again. Ola goes 0. Yes, me too. I go 0 or 0 or 0. 2, 3, 2. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Kelly, you went down a couple of points there, right? Yeah. So just to say a short word about once you go down, just remember that it's not a matter of reaching 0 and does it work or doesn't it work. It's a matter of what this does is rebalances your nervous system. So it could be at one place and then it goes down to another place, and that's like layers of an onion. And sometimes the response just goes to 0, sometimes it goes to 2, sometimes it goes a little bit, sometimes it could even go up, because underneath one sensation of, for example, sorrow, there could be anger, because it's like layers of an onion. And wherever it goes is the place it should be. Usually when it goes down a bit and then stays, what happens is that it's a situation that actually is still ongoing. So it's, you have this excess stress that you get off, but then the body needs a certain amount of stress to handle something that actually is still happening.
Yeah, which Kelly writes that I think it will take more tapping to help the stress of the cyst, which is different. I mean, so it is, we have to make a difference between what is from the past, what is something that we are stressed about from what we imagine is the future, or something that is, ongoing, because that of course is that it will, and for some we need some kind of heightened, state of mind to have the energy to do something. And of course it is very different when it is something that isn't, compared to something that happened in the past, some like before for Carol with the whistling. It's something that was from the past, so then you could say it's more probable that will go down.
Yeah. And then, like you say, you're saying apparently you need to look after yourself more. Maybe not. Maybe you're doing a perfect looking after yourself right now, and maybe that is the amount of stress that your body needs to handle the situation. So, I mean, the body will do what is good for you.
Yeah. So it's very nice that you write these comments in the chat. So Gemma wrote that noticed the worry was still in my thoughts following the tapping, but less in my body, less tightness in my chest, for example. And that is how it plays, isn't it? Everything we do with the body will affect the mind. What we do with the mind will affect the body. So when the body feels, and that's why Bessel van der Kolk's book is called The Body Keeps the Score, the effects there is something felt, and when something feels more safe in the body, the mind will feel like, okay, perhaps it's not that bad. And then little by little you do it again, or you do something else, you go for a swim, or do other things that affects your nervous system. It can go down, but when you feel safe, that's when we can heal.
And Julie Weiner is writing, there are so many versions of EFT. Why one version versus another? Any rationale or just your favorite? With a nice addition of the Eden's gentle tickle caress. Actually, it's not the gentle tickle caress. It's more of a crown pull massaging in our case. Actually, to get the blood back into the frontal cortex. And so many versions. We don't really see ourselves as a version of EFT. TFT was the origin of this, and from TFT came EFT, and we're kind of coming directly from TFT as a parallel. The reason that we do it differently is because, like we say, it's trauma tapping, and trauma tapping is designed specifically, together with Carl Johnson, to work with traumatized populations, cross-cultural, with language barriers as easy as possible in groups. So that's why it's specifically working out the way we are working with it. And there are reasons why we have taken away specific parts of it compared to EFT, because they didn't work in that context. For example, the 9 gamut and the eye movement is not a good idea with severely traumatized population. And also
the setup phrases.
The setup phrases, because that is not a good idea either in our context. So we could go into depth about it. There are lots of reasons for the way it is exactly right now. And one big reason also, we're not saying that it couldn't be done slightly different, or that one point could be added or one could be taken away. But for something to really work over time, it has to be done consistently. And for a method to be approved, it has to be done and described and published in the same way. So we're doing it the exact same way all the time for those reasons.
Yeah, and I could say some other reasons also, because this work, when we started it, we work with people. I mean, we started in Rwanda, and I'm trained in TFT, thought field therapy. And what I could see was that people got confused, and that is still a no, because it was too many components that you needed. So it's also that we have simplified, just for the reason that we want people to learn it in one session. You don't need to go to one more training with us. You can even just look at the app, because we don't care about keeping things complicated, so you have to go to many trainings, because sometimes you can see that actually it's done. We want people to learn it easily, cheaply. You can even you don't even have to go to a training, and still you can do it, which is different from many other modalities. So that's why, so it's like Ulf says, it was not meant to be another modality or just make it, we need another 3-letter abbreviation, a TLA. No, it's just that we see that this was the way that we feel that people can learn it easily. You can have a training with 200 people and they can go home and do it. They can go to the community, they can go anywhere. Nothing bad will happen, So that's how you see. We work with big groups, we work with prisoners, we work with, young guys, with refugees, or now with people who work with addiction recovery in Sweden, and they say like, wow, finally we have something. We know that people are traumatized, but what can we do? And then you see they can do this, and they see it like, wow, I really get some very good results. But I mean, like Ola was saying, it is like when you start using it, you see that. Yeah, so let's see.
So we're going to the next point. Julie, you're going to get your answer right now, because we're moving into our plethora of techniques, because even though, like we said, TTT is our hero technique or main technique, the one that we use all the time, we still have a toolbox with a bunch of techniques that you can alternate with, depending on, because we always say the answer to every single question that you will ever answer us, anybody, including ourselves, is it depends. It depends on the situation, on the person, on personal injury, on the past, on the trigger. So we have the trauma tapping technique, which we also call the tension tapping technique, and it's exactly the same thing. But in some contexts, you are not allowed to help anybody who is traumatized, mostly in the West. And in other contexts, they're not interested in tension release, they're interested in trauma release. So for research reasons, it's the same abbreviation, TTT for both, but they can be presented in two different ways.
Yeah, because it is a relaxing technique. So sometimes we just say, you know, keep it simple. It's a relaxation. Everybody's allowed to be relaxed, isn't it? You know, you're allowed to ask your friend, how are you feeling, without being a psychologist or psychiatrist. And you're allowed to be also to be relaxed.
So here comes self-havening. We showed it to you. We can do it again. It's so easy and fast. So what you do is, this is Dr. Ronald Rudin putting 18 years into studying the encoding and decoding of stress and trauma. The results presented in his book. And this is a technique that actually, it creates part of the same result as tapping and many other energy psychology techniques. It enhances the delta wave, and there's a chemical reaction in the body that there is a complete model for, which actually leads to the depotentiation. So it's done by stroking over the shoulders. And I would say, you know, you can strike over your shoulders. Here we're actually doing, we're creating a bihemispherical loop for the neurobiological nerds like me, which means left part of your brain is controlling right side of the body, telling right hand to touch left shoulder, giving information to right hemisphere. So when you do this, if you pull on a QEEG cap, you get this beautiful loop of information that is calming down the system. And when you do self-havening, you could do it as if you're walking on a long walk, one step at a time. And if you actually activate your brain at the same time to think about something else, you could just spell a word like word, W, spell it with me out loud, W,
W,
R,
R,
D.
D.
And there, when you spell a word, you're doing it usually phonetically. So if you spell the word backwards, D, R, O, W.
W.
Then what you're doing is you're engaging your optical cortex to see the word, to be able to spell it backwards. And now we just hum together. You hum after me. There you go. And you can just close your eyes and sense what you sense, feel what you feel, notice what you notice. It's a different technique, and it works really, really well when people have headaches, or people have migraines, or physical head pain, or hypersensitivity, or as Gunilla's favorite technique in the Moria. You want to tell about that?
Yeah, I mean, self-havening, as I mean, if you go back to the list of the techniques, a great energizing, Julie says. So we just go through this toolbox. So self-havening, that's what this is called, from Dr. Ronald Rudin. And as Julie was asking something about pain, physical pain, can't tap on the body. Yeah. So then this is very sleepy after tapping and havening. Yeah. So probably you need some rest, Lena. So this havening, because we have been working a lot in the refugee camp of Moria, that now is burnt down, which is more catastrophe than ever at that place. But there were so many panic attacks of people who were going into, you know, this kind of high stress and frustration, etc., etc. And then using havening, self-havening, or havening the other person, because last time I was there was actually before Corona. And if you do it in your family, so the havening is something very good for calming somebody in a panic attack, even though, I mean, like Ola said, it also helped by, you did tapping, was it, Ola?
I think it was tapping Ola did in this case.
Yeah.
Actually, it was tapping, and the last 2 minutes I stroked the arms because
Yeah.
Ulfa told me. So it
Yeah.
was a combination.
Combination, yeah, and that's exactly, and that's how we really work all the time. So you really got our point. It is that you do what you find is helpful, and sometimes it can feel like, you know, you do the tapping, and if you see that, I mean, the sense that the person is getting it, or when doing it, or and other times it is the stroking of the arms, and especially at that high level of stress that panic attack has. And how many tune, Julia asks, or try use one like yours, marching rhythm, increase any tune, humming any tune, you know.
You
It
can
is
hum
just
together
find
with a
whatever.
person. You can hum a
Yeah.
child tune. You can hum, you know, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you can do it together, or you can do it like Ulf, you know, like this call and response. You do it and the other person responds. But sometimes it feels like more safe for the first person if you do it together. You just hum, because that's just engaging the brain with this and making the connections between the hemispheres of the brain, of the brain, working memory activities. Yeah, I mean, it is like keeping the mind busy, so not other stuff will get into there.
Yep. All right.
So yeah.
So look, we have a long list, and we
Yeah,
want
let's have the
to get
next.
through it. So there's head holding techniques, different ways of holding head, and we can show you really fast.
Yeah, let's do that, because that's also very good for migraines. It is like, I don't know if we showed it for you, we were there last time, and then you just do it again. You have one hand on the forehead and the other one with the thumb under the skull, and the rest of the hand around the back of your head. So it is like connecting the front with the back. And since we know that we are beings of energy, the energy will, of course, you know, connect from the hand to the hand. So it is like also sending some calming signals through the brain. It's also that the visual center and the points from acupuncture for the eyes is on the front, and the registration of visual input is on the back. So in this sense, but also the feeling of safety, we will be always coming back to the feeling of safety for somebody when you either hold yourself or you hold somebody else around the head is incredible. For some it is like, you know, and for migraines, for some who never, you know, are able to release the migraines even with painkillers, when you hold the head like this, miracles happen. It's like, and you know, this is how you do with the child who is sick, or you know, puking, or you know, you can hold, you know, because just to make that feeling of safety, I'm with you.
Yep.
So and this one is taken from, there is a technique called TAT, tapas acupressure technique. So Tapas Fleming was the one to create it. She's also our friend and colleague. So you can also go to her website, and there you find also manual that is more, you know, go more into depth of her technique. But just using it like this, we find very helpful.
And then we have breathing techniques, and breathing techniques, there are so many breathing techniques. They're all wonderful, because whatever you do that means that you're taking control of your breathing will actually give you a better immune system and lower your stress. So it kind of, I worked a lot with hypnobirthing, and I worked a lot with midwives, and they, you know, in the beginning they were teaching outwards breathing and downwards breathing and all kinds of breathing. At the end they just said, breathe, for God's sake, breathe, you know, whatever you do when you're breathing is going to be good, and do it rhythmically. So we can just try 3 different breathing techniques together now and get a little hang of it. So if you breathe together with us now, you just breathe in and out, and you breathe in and out. So the same amount of time in and out. And by simply doing this and making sure that the sides of your diaphragm are expanding, you're actually getting a better autonomous response than breathing randomly or stressed. Now, the second thing you can do is tactical breathing or box breathing. It's when you want to get control, but you're not looking for optimal relaxation yet. You're looking for control. So it's breathing in, hold your breath, breathe out, wait. Breathe in, hold your breath, breathe out, and wait. Breathe in, hold your breath, breathe out, and wait. So this box breathing is usually taught and used by military and police in trainings. It's a good way of getting control. It's easy to remember the box with 4 sides. And then you have Gunilla's favorite, which is from Dr. Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, so then the next one is called 4-7-8, which gives more relaxation, because the more you have because you know on the in breath is activating your sympathetic nervous system. That means action. It, you know, it's like you take a deep breath and you're gonna do something, run or fight, you know, and then the out breath will activate your parasympathetic nervous system. That means rest and relax. So the longer you have on out breath and holding the breath, the more the parasympathetic nervous system will have like encouragement compared to the sympathetic. So we breathe in on 4, and then you hold your breath for 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you breathe out on 8. So you breathe in again, and then you hold your breath, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you do it again, 3, 4, and hold your breath, and then you breathe out.
And that's a fantastic way if you want to go fall asleep or really, really relax deep down. And if you also take a look at Wim Hof breathing and the science of that, how you actually can raise your immune system by Wim Hof breathing, it's slightly more intense, but we can send you the link to it. It's about breathing in and out in the first way 30 times, and then holding your breath on the out breath and then breathing in. There is science on that shows that it actually will raise your immune system and make you stronger. It's a good thing. We got a question in the chat about panic attacks. Gunilla, you can tell about the panic attacks in Moria.
Yeah, I did that already. So, I mean, you know, I said that, I mean, we really find it very helpful. And that's what Ulf also answered. It is like, you know, just havening their shoulders, because it is like something consistent. And also because of that, I said before, that high energy will be calmed by that. But as Ola said, I mean, also the tapping does the same thing. So it depends on the person. Yeah, I mean, you'll check, is this good, or you can try this too, because.
But with panic attacks, usually people I mean, they're not capable of doing something on themselves. So you ask permission. Is it okay if I do this on your shoulder? You can show on yourself. Is this okay can I do this? It will calm you down, and you will usually get an okay. And it can take anything from 2 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on how severe the attack is, but it will work. And in the end, afterwards, they will go almost straight into a completely relaxed state, almost sometimes just falling asleep.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, when we have been working there in the camp, I mean, because we work in a medical clinic, so several of the medical doctors have, you know, been like without any tools, because they're not allowed also to prescribe any psychiatric medicines. So then when we have been there, we have many times been asked to help these persons who have come with this very, very heavy attacks, and it really works very well. And for many of these medical doctors, we also say, wow, you know, we don't have to inject the diazepam, you know, these kind of tranquilizers, that is the only thing they have there available. Yeah, and then I saw the question from Anup if it's abdominal breathing. Yeah, I mean, some people call it this because, but for me it is like, there was a confusion sometimes that you think, I mean, we're talking about breathing with your stomach, but you cannot breathe with your stomach, but it is what it is. It's that your diaphragm is expanding when your lungs are expanding. So it is like finding air down into your lungs, but it's actually not breathing with your stomach. But you can feel like that because the stomach will raise when you really fill the lungs to the bottom of your lobes. So that
and,
is,
and also an advice that's given today by a lot, there's so many breathing experts today, and breathing is good to look at. So, but what they say is, instead of putting your hand on your belly, you can put your hand on the side of your belly, on your lower belly, and if your hands move, then you're breathing all the way down in the lungs, pushing out the abdomen on the side.
Or even on the side of your chest, because your chest will expand if you're, so you can look into that, but it's not really that you're breathing with your abdomen.
There you go. That's breathing techniques for you. And then we have the adrenaline blowout, a favorite. I do, when you get high adrenaline, you get shaky hands and you get all upset and you can't really hold steady. That usually happens when you get road rage or when there's sports, or when you get surprised by your own reaction. And I use it a lot coaching sport teams, because athletes, they need to stay at a very high adrenaline level. That's where they're in the zone where their peak performance state is. But it's so easy to get kicked out of it when something goes bad and you lose your temper and then you're off. So you need to get back into that zone, back out of the adrenaline that's excessive. So just put your hands in the air like this. Breathe in. Now you pull down and breathe out at the same time. So we do this 3 times together. Hang in there.
Yeah, so it's in breath, clench, what is it? Clench your fists.
Clench your fists.
Yeah, and pull down. So you do it, so it is like filling and pulling out the air, and that also, levels the carbon dioxide.
Yeah,
So
normalbreathing.com is a great resource. Thanks for that, Lena. Right. So after adrenaline blowout, there is do in, and depending on our timing today, we might do it. If not, we'll send you a video. But it's a very, very efficient self massage, standing up self energy massage technique, where you wake up your whole system, your body, and open up so that you get a real rush of energy.
Exactly. And the do in, I just saw somebody had confused the time, who thought we started now. So anyway, so we call Bastrika Pranayam. Yeah, exactly. So that's, of course, so many, like Anup writes, so much of these, the knowledge of breathing comes, has a long tradition in India, and through the yoga science. So
yeah, we're not claiming that anything of this is new.
No,
this has
definitely
all been around a zillion years, but we do present it in a contained way where you actually can transfer it to other people and relate.
Yeah, and you definitely Google the pranayama if you don't know it yet, and so find out other more breathing exercises. Very good one. You do all so yep. That's good. Thank you, Anup, for your.
And Eva, Eve, you thought that this was going to be a different time. You're probably in another time zone than ours. It is recorded. You will be able to see the recording up to now, so don't worry about it. You will be fine. So we'll send you the link after. Excellent.
Yeah, so
working, yes?
Yeah, so as we said, we work a lot in different environments, in all very different environments. So, and that's part of the reason for how we created this TTT and all the other exercises. We did this greeting of joy, which was the one we did in the beginning, this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 there. So that's what we call greeting of joy, because we learned it in the city of Joy in the eastern part of Congo. And for you who likes to know about that place, there is a Netflix film now called City of Joy. So you can check it out, the place for rehabilitation of women who have been subjected to gender-based violence. It's a beautiful documentary. Be seen and be named. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's the basics also. Just to be, you know, recognized. So that's why we often want to know the names, where you're from, and so that we feel that we are together, because it's not us, you know, like lecturing, because we always need input from you.
And here's the thing, for us to see your name here, the easiest thing is we'd like to know your name, because if you're going to do the certification process, which is part of this and it's free, and please do it because you'll feel so much more secure doing trauma tapping. We'll mail you the information, but please, right now, just write your name spelled the way you would spell it on a certificate, and write your email address, but put them together in one line. Don't hit return, and do that right now in the chat so that we get out who you are, who is here today, because more people signed up than are here, and we want to make sure that we know who is here. So do that right away, please. And that way we will see your name as well. Find your allies is something that we always say, you know. We never come to a group and say, hi, we're here to, you know, we're here now to help you. We find the informal village helpers, the unnamed leaders, or the leaders, the community leaders, and we ask them, or we tell them that we have something that might be of help, and then we show it to them. And if they find it useful, they will be an ally, and they will help us to show this to the rest of the group.
Yeah, because that's often the question we get when we, like last time, show a bit of the pictures from the places where we have worked, you know, how do you get there, you know, and it's always through somebody, like an invitation rather than just coming. We never just come anywhere. So that's the same with you, you know somebody, you go to the community that you think, oh, perhaps they would, you know, be helped by this, and do that, you know. It's very empowering for everybody, and yourself and anybody, that you have something that you can share. And even if it's a group of 2 or 1, we don't, you know, we never count, because you never know who the person is there, and the persons who are there are the ones to be there. Integrity. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's always very important with integrity, and we all know that, so GDPR and everything. So we have to stick to that.
And also, integrity is part of the TTT protocol, because you're allowed to sit in the group and work with everybody. There could be a prisoner, but we don't talk about what happened to them. Why are they in this place together? Or women survivors of gender-based violence. We're not asking for details. Everybody maintains the integrity while you still can do a treatment.
Yeah, which is fantastic, that you can work with big groups of people, and sometimes people want to tell and sometimes not. So it's, as we always come back to, it all depends, but it's possible.
And also, when you do work in groups where testimonials are part of it, like in church groups or AA meetings or debrief situations with first responders, when there is a situation where people actually do give testimonials or share, it's very, very useful to do the tapping or the self-havening during that, because that way you will calm down the responses that people might have that you won't see on the outside.
Yeah, somatic poem. I mean, we also have a way that, you know, as you can say, helping people to connect and to whatever bothers them through a somatic poem that we have in our book, that we will also send you the PDF of the book if you don't really already have it, you know.
Yep.
And then, of course, music, which is what we have done a lot. We always have encouraged a lot of people and anybody to do songs that helps people to do the tapping with joy, because we're coming back to that greeting of joy. We want people to, you know, find that joy, and through music, most of people, many can find that, you know, can do it in a much more joyful way. Even if trauma is something very, very, very serious for many, it is, you have to find, you know, come back to joy. And when you do it with music and don't go digging down into it, you can find light on your path to recovery.
And again, if you want to look at it from a nerdy neurobiological side, music is one of the few activities that engages most parts of the brain. And that's what you want to do, because the brain shuts down with stress. It shuts down with trauma. So you reawaken it by doing humming and dancing and rhythmic movement. And you get your body back into movement and flexibility, which is the opposite of being stiff, tense, and stressed.
Yeah, because flexibility in the body will give flexibility to the mind and vice versa, you know. And because your rhythm is not really functioning when you're traumatized, you start being jerky in your movements and jerky in your thoughts. But you need to get back into that flow, which is rhythm. And games. I mean, we also do games. Like I think we showed last time the games, for example, that we call PTB, the pass the balloon. That's games. And also other, these kind of clapping things, because it engages the whole system. You have to do it, or just jumping and shaking, you know.
And also because the opposite of being in a stressed or traumatized mindset, which is survival mode is the opposite of play mode. Play mode is, this is fun, let's do it, you know, we're all friends, it's all good, everything is fine, we're safe, let's have fun. So games is getting your brain back into a playful mode. Mm-hmm. And with that comes laughter.
Yeah. And like we showed, I mean, this image we showed last time with the balloons, that brings, you know, nobody fails, everybody is playing. And with the balloon, you can make people, it's impossible not to have a smile at least. And many do laugh.
Yeah. So when you're working with other people, there are certain things that you might want to think about. And what you want to think about is that you don't need to ask things unnecessarily. You want to sit in a certain way when you talk to them. And we can run through that list just so that you know. But most of you will be working with people on distance, like on Zoom, probably.
Yeah. So we thought that it could be good for you to talk in a bit smaller groups, just how you can use these techniques so that you get some ideas from each other. And then we come back, because we have like 13 minutes left. So we go 5 minutes into some groups, or what do you think?
Yeah, so you just discuss with each other, how can I fit this into my life? Can I do this at work in the morning? Can I do this in some different way? Can I do it every morning when I wake up? How can I put it in my daily routines? Would something stop me from doing this? Find out any question you have and we'll answer them in the last 6 minutes without any problems. So please just go nuts and have fun and meet each other right now.
Great. So good.
From the rooms.
From the rooms. Did you have some nice conversations? So let's just have some. Can you like to say something? Tell some things of what you found. Anybody?
Anybody, somebody, who body? Lena?
Hi. Yeah. So it's just nice to talk to others to see how they use tapping within their work.
Yeah, great.
So and the scope of where you can use it. So that was really, really good to talk about.
Great. And Eve, did you want to say something?
Yes, I had the pleasure of having Ola in the room and the other two gentlemen as well, but Ola especially, because as I was telling them, somewhere in the back of my mind, it is my idea to bring this system across to people who are first responders, whether they are fire people, policemen, you know, rescue people and so on. Presently where I live, I don't have the chance to do that, but my country of residence might change in the near future, and then I will have that opportunity. And I hope that I can make inroads, that I at least get the chance to present this, you know, because it is it works so well,
Yeah.
and it's so deep, and it can change things so quickly. So
Yeah. And take the chance then to be connected to Ola, who has the experience, of course. So where are you now and where are you going, if I may ask? Which country are you?
I'm in the United Arab Emirates at the moment.
Yeah, and you're going to?
And I will return to Austria maybe next
Okay.
year.
Okay.
And I know people in that field, so I'm hoping that at least they will arrange an opportunity, a possibility for me to present this to
Yeah,
begin
that's
with.
good. So it's always good to bring those experiences from other people like Ola and other first responders who have used it. We also have some other friends in California who have been working, in the big fires there, also first responders. So just let us know, write us an email and say, and we can connect you to some of these people. Great.
Yeah. And Ola, you will be happy to be in touch with Eve as well, right?
Yes, of course. And this is a thing it's going on in the police. I will for sure telling you, because I have a good friend of mine who's also a mind trainer, and he's like the big chief of first responders training in stressful situations.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Matthias Gard. He is responsible for all the education in Sweden, and I've been head chief for our investigation questioning methodic. So
Wow.
I'm an officer at the street now, but I have connections on high levels. So this will be a big thing in the force, I'm for sure. So please, mail me.
And we know Matthias, so it's going to be good.
Yeah. Great.
Can I say something about that with first responding?
Thank you,
I know one case of first responding where the client, the injured person was bleeding, and the person began the havening, and the bleeding stopped.
Wow. Yeah, so that is another technique also that is, verbal first aid will also give you some links to that. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Anybody else wanted to give some comment in our last minutes here? Somebody was eager. Thank you so much, Carol. Somebody else?
I just, as a sidebar, I just want to quickly ask the person going back to Austria. I'm happen to be a United American, but of Austrian descent. And you're going from the United Arab Emirates. Is it true that they're vaccinating for COVID nationwide in the UAE?
No, that's not entirely true. They have partnered up with a Chinese company who has developed the original vaccine. They brought it over here, they put the UAE stamp on it, and they're working with the government authorities here. They have run trials for between 30 and 40,000 volunteers. All sorts, expatriates, old, young, Emiratis, everything. And they are offering it to people on what they call the front line. There is no mandatory vaccination at this time.
Okay.
So it's not like they're going for the entire population. There's like 9 million people, I think, in the UAE.
The 9 million is a little, I'm not sure how they're counting that, plus 1 million by the end of the year will have left because they've all lost their jobs. So there is a massive reorganization. And because there is a huge debate now on the vaccinations and people are finally waking up to it and asking themselves some real questions, I'm not sure how that will go. But of course, we don't have a say in that. So if they make it mandatory, there could be people who choose to leave the country. Some others, they can't wait to get the vaccination. The minds are split.
Thank you.
So,
I'm sorry, because now
thank you. Thanks. Sorry for that sidebar.
Yeah, it is a side. So if you want to continue that conversation, please feel free to email, and it's very interesting. But we finish now at 7:30. So for those who wants to, have to stay on time like us. But if there are some people who want still to have some questions, we can still stay for 10 minutes. But we want to say for you who came, thank you so much for joining. Please share with others,
Oh, did we pledge?
We haven't pledged, so that's the time to now. Well, if you do it,
everybody put your hand up. And I will unmute you all, or you can unmute yourself. Well, it's okay with a little bit of noise now. Cover your ears if you can't stand it. I solemnly promise
I solemnly promise
to never,
ever
ever keep this to myself.
Keep this to
this to
myself.
myself.
I will practice it daily
I will
We'll
practice
practice it
Sit
daily.
daily.
and give it to anybody and everybody.
And
and give it to anybody and
Give it to
everybody.
Give it to
anybody and
anybody and everybody.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
It's great.
So we'll be staying here. We have like we have around 9 minutes left here for you. So I'll mute everybody and you can unmute yourself and stay and talk if you want to.
So what are the next steps in working on certification?
That's a good question. So certification, you will get an email that explains the certification process. It's 6 cases that you do with somebody, preferably not the same person 6 times, but the same person twice would be okay. And you just take the age and gender and presenting cause and SUD before and after and a reflection. And then there's an assessment of the theory and knowledge of how to present it, which you answer. And again, it's self-grading, so you will get your answer immediately. Once you've filled in those 2, you send it after filling out both the 6 cases and the science assessment, you send us an email saying, I'm done. And then we look at your cases and we say, yes, you are. And then you get this beautiful certificate that you can hang on the front door of your house. So anybody who falls over in the street and has an accident can crawl to your door and be tapped.
Sweet.
Wonderful. That's so perfect.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else with some question? Yes.
Another question on this. For the
Please.
cases, do we need to use all the tools you taught or 1 or 2 or whatever is needed?
It's the TTT that we go the hero method. So, and if you add something, that's
TTT.
fine. But the TTT,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for clarification.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Yeah, so TTT is there at the base of everything. And if you happened to add something else, just write that down.
Perfectly.
And
Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
yes.
Dina?
Sorry, so I missed the first session. So we need to do both the sessions and then we can go ahead and have all the knowledge for the case.
Exactly.
Well, you have the knowledge already, but you can get the
Yeah,
experience.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's good.
That's fine.
But
Thank
you can
you.
still start doing your case, no problem. You can start doing your certification if so just feel free. And if you have questions, just write us an email.
Anoop has 4 cases ready. That's wonderful. And
Wonderful.
remember, we want your cases online and you will get links to all those tools.
I will see some of you in the training. Wow.
And also in one of them, it will say at the end of the assessment, it's going to say, I agree to the code of ethics, which you will have to do. And part of the code of ethics is what you just agreed to by agreeing to share this. Ola, take care. I see you're going. You had a long day
Bye,
today. Ola.
everybody. This was
Bye.
very nice. Thank you.
And lovely to see you again.
Yes, I'll see you. I already signed up for the first one.
Yeah, great.
So I'll see you. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
We'll see you
So long.
later.
Nice
Well,
meeting
Greetings to
you.
Canada.
Yeah.
Natalia, bye.
Yeah, Natalia. Yes. Bye.
Yeah. So
Kelly?
great.
Kelly? Yeah.
Did you have a question, Kelly?
I really recommend you to keep doing the tapping daily when you fall asleep and when you wake up, okay? Because it's a matter of when you're falling asleep, the mind usually starts thinking about everything, and that's a nice way to relax. And when you wake up, if you wake up at night or when you just wake up, or when you get, this emotional peak, whatever that is, you just do it right there and then, or just do the breathing, and that will help you to lower that level as much as it can go, okay?
Thank you.
Great. Who else has a question?
Osaki, any questions?
Just wanted to find out if someone like me who already has a certificate, should I go through the process again for another certificate, or the one I got last time was enough?
The one you got is the one we have. So
You,
we
you
don't
got
even.
you got the good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can still say
Thank-
congratulations again.
Thank you.
Great. So yeah. So
Eve,
please.
I don't know whether I somehow missed this in the whole process, but you and Ulf have become very busy in spreading the word, doing the webinars and everything like that. I'm still not entirely sure. Is this a volunteer project of yours, or has this now become your full-time job?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I would say the answer is yes.
Yeah, to both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's both. We do a lot. I mean, from all over. We both do it professionally and as a volunteer because has become like a lifestyle.
Are you university based? No.
No, we're
None of us is an academic. I'm a journalist, so I have been to university, but not as a. And then my therapy is done through other trainings than university, of different mainly. I mean, somatic therapies. That's where I come from, shiatsu, massage, and those body-based therapies, and that's how I get into this.
I'm a musician and a construction engineer.
Yeah.
But I never worked as a construction engineer ever.
But I worked as a journalist, filmmaker. I'm a researcher in natural history. So, so we come through experience into this. Yeah, great. Any more questions? Because I think it is like 2 minutes still, and then I at least have to go.
I have one quick question.
Yes, Anup.
Is there any technique which which can help people with the food cravings?
Yeah, tapping. I mean, when you start having
Tapping.
the craving, I mean, when it's, having a sign on your, if you have a fridge or whatever you keep your food, to say, oh, do havening or do tapping, instead of going opening it. So because it has to be when the craving starts. We talked a bit about that with Carol and Magnus in our group. So that is very good. We have a special training in addiction recovery because cravings is part of addiction. It's just that it's another name for it, and it's self-medication for some kind of anxiety, trauma, or whatever it is. Yes.
If somebody comes to you to get help with an addiction, with a craving, you tell them bring the craving.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they want to stop smoking, don't have them smoking 2 seconds before they come to you, because that means that there's nothing to treat. It's the craving you're treating, not the addiction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody just joined us, Muriel, but I'm afraid she will be very disappointed because we are now shutting down Factory. We will be very happy to share the video with you all. So I hope you wrote your email in the chat, and we will just stay in touch and stay great, everybody.
Any question, just
Thank
send
you.
us an email.
Looking forward to reviewing on the video and seeing. Thank you.
Good.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bid you all a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Or good morning,
afternoon.
or wherever you're. Good afternoon, whatever.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you very much.